Hello, and welcome to the continuing saga of my easy and relaxing retirement life, building a house and a homestead from scratch. By the way, if you haven't seen the story up until now, I think we're up to like episode 6. You might want to go back and watch the first ones to find out what happened leading up to now. And speaking of now, it's, let's see, I broke ground on the basement June 4th, 2016. August, 2 months later, August 4th, actually, I got the basement. And that's where we start this one out. Last time I told you I had to build this pad out in front of the basement, and that's for having my basement delivered. And if that sounds weird, well, this is what it looks like on the back of a semi-trailer. But the pad was actually for this thing, a giant crane that they were going to use to swing them into place. It's actually called flying them in, when they use a giant crane to hoist and fly them through the air to get them in place. Here's the crew getting ready to start setting the walls. And they start hoisting away. It's actually pretty impressive watching them hoist these things with this giant crane. And this crane has got enough capacity and reach to reach the back of the basement from sitting out front here. They started in a corner, and that's to have the corner brace or support each wall. And they started at a back corner and then worked along the back wall and around toward the front. These things bolt together, and of course they're sealed, each unit or each section to the next. And then after they're in place, they also seal the seams on the outside with grout. You can get these things in 8-foot, 9-foot, or 10-foot high sections. I opted for the 10-foot ones because I wanted the extra height in the basement, just in case I wanted to finish it off. I'd have plenty of room for an 8-foot drop ceiling and still have room for utilities in the basement. So this is from an outfit called Superior Walls, and you can check them out online if you're interested. SuperiorWalls.com, I believe. Not sponsored, I just think they have a good product. One of the things I liked about them, or several things actually, is they were competitively priced. Might even have been cheaper than a conventional poured basement wall or block basement wall. And when they're done, you get this system. You not only have a basement, you have a completely insulated basement because these sections come completely insulated. What's really impressive about this system is you start out the day with a hole in the ground, and by the end of the day, you've got a complete basement ready to build on. You don't have to wait for concrete to cure or anything like that. You can put its load bearing immediately. So you can start construction the next day. I think it was around noon when they actually got started, and by 5 o'clock, they had this thing done. After the basement was in, I started prepping for the basement floor, and this is the trench down the center in preparation for pouring the concrete thicker here as a footer for where the center beam of the house is going to be supported. Here we are getting ready for the basement floor pour, and the trench down the center, like I say, for the footer for the center beam, and that's reinforced, as is the whole floor, and plastic down for vapor barrier. They used a concrete pumper, which is the best way to get concrete everywhere you need it down in the basement. The pour went well, and of course this all happened in one day. Unlike what happened on the barn floor pour, we actually ended up with a little extra. So I got an apron for the entrance to my shop out of the deal. The top plates get bolted right to the top of the basement walls, and when they make these things, they cast them with holes just for that purpose. So it makes it pretty easy. There's a trailer load of 16-foot long 2x10s for joists. Good old box door lumber, sometimes straight, sometimes not. So a couple weeks after the floor was poured, I started on the center beam and attaching the steel posts to the new concrete. So the center beam was put together 4 boards thick, and I staggered the joints as I went and glued and screwed them together. That beam looks a little unlevel there, which it is. I shimmed it up and straightened it up later. And there it is completed. And if you happen to notice in the background of the prior picture, yes, I did upgrade my camp shower with metal siding, way better than a tarp in the wind. So next are the rim joists, and I did a double rim joist, which is what my building plans called for. Here you see more wonderful box door lumber. I had to use some clamps and gentle persuasion to force them into being straight. That's called a wow, because when you see it, you just go, wow. After the rim joists come the floor joists. Nice, pretty sunset to end the day. And the next morning, there's the culprit, chloride. That's what chloride-loaded tires do to your wheels. So I had to take that off, which consists of taking all the pie weights off and the plate that holds them and the special lugs, and then you can take the wheel off. The wheel was beyond saving, so I had to get a whole new wheel. Luckily, they were available. But back to the floor joists. The center beam and the rim joist took me about a week to 9 days, something like that, and then all the floor joists took me about 3 weeks to get all those set. And those are set 1 foot on center, which again is what the plan called for, and I was all for it because I like a strong floor. It takes more lumber, but my floor does not creak. This guy wandered in, hung around for a couple days, and then disappeared. I don't know if he's a local or just a stray or what. Never saw him again, though. So once I had all the joists in, I started immediately on the sheathing, the subfloor. So I used what they call Advantech, which is a 3/4 inch thick OSB tongue and groove, but it's waterproof. And you inevitably get the floor wet on a construction project before you get it under roof. It's not cheap, it costs more, but hey, this is my house, so I figure better quality is the way to go. I was able to get my trailer close enough that I could just slide the sheets right off onto the deck, which was handy. So I had all the subfloor sheathing down in about 10 days. So the house all decked and ready for logs. Yes, this is going to be a log home. There's the view standing on the floor. So this is what they call a shear wall, which is support for the front wall that is got backfill all the way up and pressure from the ground pressing against it. Some more locals stopped by. Hey, you looking at us? Yeah, we're out of here. So I backfilled most of the basement walls with rock because there are foundation drains that run around the entire perimeter of the basement to make sure any water that collects in there gets drained off. They're good insurance against any water getting into the basement, but where this house is, I'm on high ground. They'll never see water, I'm sure. And since this is a walkout basement on the back, the foundation drains just come out the back of the house and will drain off the hill. So this is behind the house with the drains running out. And there it's backfilled over the drains. And there's a shot of the back of the house, and the grade will slope down toward the basement door on each end. So my house has arrived. They showed up in the morning with a log truck and a crane truck and a crew, and they offloaded all the logs onto the deck, and then the log truck left, and the crane truck and the crew did the rest. So this log system consists of each log is contoured on the top and the bottom so they fit together. There's also a loose spline that goes in each log joint to seal them. And then they get screwed. The first course gets screwed down to the floor, and then each course of logs gets screwed to the one below it with very long screws. And of course, they interlock at the corners. So these are hand-hewn logs, and when you order one of these, they actually start hewing the logs, and they pre-cut it, pre-shape them to the lengths they're supposed to be, and they actually assemble it in their yard to make sure everything is right. Then they disassemble it, load it onto a truck, and bring it out, and then reassemble it on site. It was up to me to have the house basement complete and the house decked, ready for them to work on top to build the log walls. The whole process for them took about 3 days to complete, as I recall. They assemble all the perimeter walls of the house. Also included in the kit is the timbers and posts and such for the front porch, because this is an Appalachian style house with a full-length or almost full-length covered front porch, but they don't erect that, so that will be up to me to build. This is a log home kit from Old Virginia Hand-Hewn Log Homes. And the reason I went with them is I wanted to get a log home kit from a company that actually comes out and builds it themselves, because they know their system, they know what they're doing, and they do it right. So that's what I was looking for, and they fit the bill. Great people to work with too. No problems whatsoever. Came out great. So there we have 4 walls on a floor on a basement. And they took off, and now it's up to me to finish it. Well, me and occasionally some help. So now with the shear wall in place in the basement and the house sitting on it, I can backfill the basement walls the rest of the way, so I work on that. So as you can see from this picture, it's fall again. Leaves are turning. Yep, it's November. I had the trusses engineered at the same place that did the shop trusses, and they got delivered. And remember me saying that it's inevitable that the floor gets wet? Well, there you go. I got my basement windows in. And yep, the holidays are coming up again. Picked up a trailer load of sheathing for the roof and was going to back it in the barn with the tractor, and oops. Just a little bit too much weight for that bolt to handle. So this time I hired a couple of my neighbors and a couple of their friends and another crane guy, and we set all the trusses on the house. Then they went to work on the sheathing and the paper, and they pretty much had it done in a week or so. I'm kind of uncomfortable on a roof like that, so I was the ground man. Man, that's a long way down on the backside of that house. It's about 18 or 19 feet from the edge of that roof to the ground there. All sheathed and papered, which is good, because 3 days later we got this. More winter weather to contend with. So that'll wrap up another one, I guess. Come on back next time if you want to see how this story continues. So long.